Hi, it's Laura with Living a Lot. I run a online meetup group, basically, that is mentoring for clients and practitioners. I've been doing this since 1994, so I've got 20 years in this month. And the last, about almost 5 years, I've had a specific modality that I've chosen to follow to make the fastest, deepest changes that last the longest in the least amount of time. And it's also something that I can teach my clients so that they can use it on themselves until they hit that wall and need to get with me. Well, in our meetup session, our Google Hangout session this week online, we were talking about the video I have about my daughter's car wreck a couple of years ago. And I was asked to make another video to explain why using the process called Faster EFT that includes meridian tapping, why I mention in the video with my daughter that I never touched her. I never did meridian tapping, and why that worked. With traditional EFT, you are working with the conscious mind. You are working with the meridian system. When we take EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, and we add other modalities to it that work with the subconscious mind, understanding how beliefs work, then you make deeper changes. You may not even know what the changes were that you made because you're working at the subconscious level. This is because we add neurolinguistic programming, we add guided imagery, we add understanding hypnotic trance, emotional trance, and actually go in to break emotional trance. We understand primary imprinting and psychoneuroimmunology, and we go in and help re-imprint the emotions that are attached to old memories and gain a new perspective. So this is why the reactions are different than with emotional freedom technique when we use faster emotionally focused transformation, or faster EFT. Now, what I wanted the group then to understand, and what I want to relay to you today, is that when I worked with Sarah and talked about the fact that because her body was broken following her car wreck, and I could not touch her, you could not touch the sheet that was on her, what I did was I used the other processes, the mental and emotional processes, to help her body relax so it would release the trauma that she had endured during the car wreck, the meta-flight, which was a 90-mile helicopter ride, and waiting until she had surgery, not only that evening, 8 hours after her wreck, but another major surgery 4 days later to put her pelvis back together, which was broken in 4 pieces. So the key for understanding why I was so successful quickly is because I had indeed worked with her a year earlier on a former accident she had when she was hit in the crosswalk by a van and had a head injury and ended up with staples in her skull. So we had released the emotional trauma of those memories, and her subconscious mind recognized what we were doing. So it was the setup of the session we had a year earlier that allowed her mind to recognize what we were doing and make faster, deeper changes without having to use the meridian tapping points, the acupressure points, to relax the organs in the body that create fight, flight, and freeze. I didn't have to do that because her mind recognized not only my voice and the tone I was using and the process we were using, but it recognized, oh, we're in healing mode. And that's why her recovery went from a prognosis of 6 months in a wheelchair to from January 9th to April 11th in a doctor's care, and then being released to go a week later and dance at the prom in cowboy boots. A month following that, to walk across the stage and get her high school diploma. She stayed in her wheelchair maybe 6 weeks and made record history at the hospital, spending 15 days in the hospital, several of those in the trauma unit, and being on over-the-counter ibuprofen only with a 0 pain level for the last 6 days of her stay. And the nurse supervisor came to me and said, "This doesn't happen. Nobody goes more than a few hours without pain medication, and certainly not at a 0 pain level on over-the-counter ibuprofen, unless something else is going on, unless they're on morphine or something." And so her body was able to heal more quickly because it had released the trauma. And I shared with the group that I had an encounter with another young man whose name I don't recall, and who I didn't know at the time. I was working out at the gym, and I saw a couple of people helping him off the floor down below. And so I went downstairs, and he had rolled his ankle and was in pain, was waiting for his parents to come and pick him up to take him to the doctor, or take him home to put ice on it or something. And so I used the quick release technique on him and helped get his pain level down and his anxiety level down to where it was practically not even noticeable. The problem was when he went to move his leg from where he had crossed it across his other knee down, he had a rush of pain, a rush of intense pain. And I asked him if he had ever broken a limb. And he said yes, he'd broken his arm once. And I asked him if the pain he was now feeling was similar to when he would lower his arm below his heart and that the blood would rush into his arm when it was broken. He said yes, it was the same. I said, "I think you've broken your ankle." And so we were able to get his parents hooked up with a nearby emergency trauma place where he could go. And I saw him a week later from a distance. This young man was playing basketball. He was in a cast. He was booted up, obviously had a broken leg, but was out there not just dribbling the ball and shooting, but actually dragging the cast around and playing ball with what appeared to be no pain. And I would attribute that to the fact that we released the trauma and the anxiety from his body shortly after the accident occurred. So it's important to understand that chronic pain is memorized pain many times, and that using the techniques to reduce the impact and the imprint of the trauma, the panic, the anxiety in the moment of an accident or an event that would normally end up in either chronic pain or post-traumatic stress disorder. When we release that pain, it allows the mind and the body to work together toward healing. So I hope that gives you a little more insight as to why we can do, with faster emotionally focused transformations, Faster EFT, we can do deeper, faster, more lasting changes when we work at the very moment that we notice there is illness, injury, or an event that would normally be something that would be shocking to the system. And when we release it, only healing can happen. That's all that's left. This is Laura with Living a Lot, and I thank you for sharing today with me. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye-bye.